Hello, and welcome to your mini masterclass on standards of integrity. I've got my hip professor glasses on as I teach this masterclass for you today. So, as you already know, the standards of integrity is in the four-part framework, it is the very first letter S. So let's just start there for review. The four-part framework that we use is SOUL, Standards of Integrity, Objectives of Life, Unlearning Limiting Beliefs, and Life Design. And one thing is, I know that when you look back at this image, it can feel like, whoa, really massive. And it's because we're seeing the whole picture. We're seeing the final outcome. And a way to, when you're looking at something really big, whether this is a formula or a goal for your life, the way to make it accessible is to chunk it down to bite-sized pieces. So this is why I chunk it down to this four-part framework. And then within that, there's pieces, right? And these mini master classes are going to break it down even more because each class is going to represent just one element. And today we are touching on standards of integrity. So the etymology of the word. If you look up the etymology of the word standard, it means upright. And actually the history of the word, it even means like an upright flag. And so essentially a standard represents what you're a stand for. And then the etymology of the word integrity, I love this definition. It means the state of being whole and undivided. So your standards of integrity are what you are a stand for that enables you to feel whole and undivided in your life. It's like Andra Day, the musician, says in one of her songs, your life don't mean nothing if you don't stand for something. So much truth in that. Oops. So your standards of integrity are who you need to be. It's the character you need to develop to actually achieve the dreams that you dream about, the things that you say you want to achieve, the things that you say you want to experience, and to actually create your version of an ideal life. You might go, why? Why would my standards of integrity have anything to do with what I actually create or whether or not I achieve my dreams? And this is why, because what you want always, every time, begins with you and how you're showing up in the world. How we create is what we create. So the beginning phase of creating your version of a masterful, beautiful life begins with really doing the work, the inner work of who am I being in my day-to-day? How am I showing up? What character am I developing? What are my standards of integrity? Now, your standards of integrity are represented by your values, which are, it's what your life is a demonstration of. This isn't ideals. This isn't like, yeah, I really value this, but then you show up completely differently. This is what your life demonstrates. I always like to say a value, you can, in how you spend your money, your values show how you talk to people, how you dress, how you show up in your day-to-day is demonstrated. Your values are clearly demonstrated. So again, not ideals, but your values. And it will show up, like I said, through your attitudes, your patterns, and your behavior, because your values are something you actually demonstrate. They're not just something you talk about or an ideal that you have. There are two really beautiful, very famous, very popular quotes, one by Gandhi and the other by Margaret Thatcher, saying the same thing. So your beliefs become your thoughts become your words become your actions become your habits become your values, and then your value becomes your destiny, your future, your dreams, the life you end up creating. So like I said, your behaviors, your habits, your attitudes, this is all part of your standards of integrity, because this really is showing and demonstrating to yourself and the world what your values really are. And ultimately, just like Gandhi says, your values become your destiny. Margaret says it this way: watch your thoughts, for they become your words. Watch your words, for they become your actions. Watch your actions, for they become your habits. Watch your habits, for they become your character. And watch your character, for it becomes your destiny. So standards of integrity is not just about Amber's point of view. This has come, this system, this formula, this framework has come from, yes, years of personal experience, but also years of coaching and also studying really great thinkers and people who have created unbelievable change in this world as well as fulfillment. So I take you through a process in the training series, in the training sessions. I take you through a process called the Theme of the Year Discovery Process. It is also in the Fulfillment Formula Journal. It's nice to be guided. I guide you through what's actually in this journal, but I also add some stuff in there as well. And having a theme for the year really helps us show up for ourselves with more intention. A year is a long time. We start, at the beginning of the year, it's very common for many of us, the first couple of months, to really be reflecting on these kind of things. Who do I want to be? What do I want to create? How do I want this year to look different? However, as the year moves along and we start chugging along, it is super common for us to disconnect with those deep intentions that we had early on in the year. And so coming up with a theme of the year really keeps us connected to those deepest desires, dreams, and goals we have, but it also just gets us to come to like a core intention of what we want to experience and who we want to become more of in the year ahead. I like to think of it like a character development checkpoint. So, as I'm moving along in the year, I'm always asking myself, am I making choices and taking action in a way that feels in alignment with my theme of the year? So for this year, my theme is brave. And my goals, I love these glasses. I'm such a nerd. I keep like pushing them up. They're not prescription. Like I'm really being nerdy here. But I use that theme as a way to really check in with my character. Am I showing up? Am I making goals in alignment with that? Am I really being brave? What does brave mean? How am I showing up brave in my day-to-day, in my weeks, in my months, in my vision for myself and for the world? And I have a dear friend, her name is Vanessa Brower. She's also a coach. And she actually did a post on social media just like a week ago that was so beautiful and so perfect. So I just want to read what she wrote about this. She said, creating a yearly theme has been one of the most effective and enjoyable practices that I've ever used. And it continues to evolve into even more effectiveness each year. Creating a theme for around your year and developing it first on the inside is a relaxed way to evolve your life as a whole. So well said. I couldn't have said it better. And here's the thing, coming up with a theme of the year is not something I invented it. Many, many people do it, and it's really encouraged. You'll notice that a lot of coaches, personal development people, people will ask them like, what's one of the practices? What are one of the tools that you use to actualize your goals? And you'll hear it again and again. They say, well, one of the things that I do is I come up with a theme for the year and blah, 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 blah. So, it's a really beautiful practice. And if you go to the first training series, I guide you through a process to help you uncover and define what your theme of the year is. In addition, in this mini masterclass, we are going to do a practice that I developed. I came up with this to come up with my own core values. We're going to do discovering and defining your core values. So beautiful. If you could have your theme for the year and then your core values, this is going to be a complete game changer in the way that you make goals, in the way that you show up for your day-to-day. It changes everything. And it really starts to help create more clarity about the work that you do in the world, the relationships that you have, both intimately and friendships, the way you take care of your body. It really starts to shift things. So these two practices are quite profound, even though they're simple. So oftentimes it's those most simple things that, years later we're like, this is going to sound so simple, but it has really made a big difference. So when you're doing this, don't think too much, just start writing and trust you know the answer to these questions when you get out of your own way. And by getting out of your own way, not trying to make it perfect, and also not trying to make it be that you need to find the answer right away. I've been doing work around standards of integrity for years, and I've only really come to my core values. There were two of them that I've been working with for quite a while, but like at the full version that it is now is only in the past year. So be patient with yourself in developing this stuff. And also know you have the community page where you can go and ask questions. So as you're going along this process, anywhere you get stuck, just go on there, either write out your question or do a video question. And I can give you some coaching through the community page. So something you need to note, there's 7 questions in total. For question 1 and 2, you're going to need to ask a trusted person that you are deeply close to. This is a best friend, a super close teacher, a mentor, a coach who's been in your life for a while, a partner. And then this is more to determine your strengths and how you are showing up, how you are being according to others. And then for questions 3 to 7, it's all you. All right, here we go. So these are your questions, and I will include these slides. So you'll be able to see these slides. I haven't uploaded this, but it's going to be right around this area. So if you want this, you can also do a screenshot of this, and then you can also pause and follow along. So however you want to do this. So the first question is this you'll actually need to just go. These first 2 questions, decide who is your trusted person, and you're going to ask them to let you know what your most redeeming qualities are and what really matters to you. So you're going to notice for each of these questions, I give an example, and the example is mine. This is the response I got. So according to my trusted person, my most redeeming qualities are things like driven, passionate, okay with failing, determined, thoughtful, straightforward, blah, blah, blah. It's all here, right? And what really matters to me, this is actually really funny. He said growth, contribution, celebration, and then fulfillment. And he laughed after saying those 4 words because, as you guys all know, that's like kind of some key elements to my work in the world. So yes, those things really do matter to me. Now here's where the work begins for you. So questions 3 to 7 are all you. What is something that is a must for you? It's a proclivity of yours, or it's something that really irks you. So I'm going to read to you what my example was when I did this journaling process. My environment to feel good and harmonious. So this is, one of my proclivities. Like when I move to a new place, I must set the space up right away. I'm not one of those people who has boxes months later. In fact, a week later, I don't like it. I really want my space set up right away because it's such a thing for me to have my environment feeling good and harmonious, making it feel cozy, inviting, and beautiful. And this means a lot to me. And I also happen to love it. Restaurants also, I choose first by environment, then food, then cost. So environment for me is really important. I'd rather eat at home than eat out at places that feel drab or lacking in character. It's really interesting because my ex-partner, JP, who was my person for the other questions, he's like the opposite in this. He's one of those people who's like, the environment for restaurants don't really matter to him, like whatever, even his home environment. It's not a big priority for him. And always us living together, me setting up and getting on that right away, it was like, he always thought it was so weird, It's definitely like a thing of mine. Also, the other thing that I came up was my top 5 people that I spend time with really needing to be of excellent character, doing interesting things in their life. And for interesting for me is like they're in some way making a difference. Like it doesn't have to be this huge, profound thing. It could even just be them working on themselves to be a better person. That's making a difference as far as I'm concerned. They're interesting. They're typically not people who are just operating by the status quo. The core people in my life are people that I need to admire them. And what I admire is strong character. They're creating interesting stories in their life, and they're lifelong learners. So the next question is really cool. So according to that, the question is, what must I appreciate then? And so I thought about it, and I really looked back at those things, and I thought, you know what, based on those 2 things, the top one, I was looking and I was like, okay, my environments need to feel good and harmonious and cozy and inviting and beautiful. And I sat with that for a while, because for a while I was like, I don't know, is it something about coziness and comfort and wanting people to feel welcoming? But really, when I thought more and more about it, it's beauty for me. And beauty for me is not a stereotype at all. Like I could be, for instance, at a rundown restaurant that most people would think was ew, but I think it's so interesting and avant-garde and unique. Or it could be not avant-garde at all. It could just be like I think about in Thailand, some rundown restaurants, but you could tell that the owners put love in it. Like this one restaurant I think of, the man has hand drew pictures that literally looked like kids did it, but you could see there was so much pride in the way he laid it out. It was so interesting. To me, that is beauty. That is when you're in space, you're seeing that someone cares. It's beautiful. To me, beauty is about care, and that's unique to people, but you can always tell there is care there. Someone put care into that. So I was like, okay, what must matter? What must I appreciate then is beauty. Anybody's version of it, but beauty. And then when I thought about the second one, you know, my top 5 people being of excellent character, and I just started thinking more and more about that. And this one just really, I had never thought of this before, but it is such a core value of mine. Excellence. I mean, I've been a martial artist for years now, and excellence isn't perfectionism by any means. In fact, I look at excellence as just someone who is in a constant and never-ending process of developing themselves physically, mentally, emotionally, and spiritually. Not in a ragged, run-you-down kind of way, but again, this really has to do with care, you know? Question number 5, and these examples I'm giving you and I'm diving into so that you, when you go into this, it just gives you a little more juice and a little bit more information as you start journaling and thinking about your answers. Question number 5, what situation, challenge, inefficiency, or insanity do you see that you want to transform? I love this question. So I had 2. One, I wrote lack of kindness and acceptance of differences. So a world where people feel they need to hide and wear masks and armor because we all feel so much fear of our truth. That kind of deep-seated fear of we will not belong or be loved if we are actually ourselves. And then the second one is people not reaching for their potential. Again, kind of deals with excellence, right? And so much of this for me, I wrote, is really about intrinsic growth rather than extrinsic growth. So again, this is really about character development more than like someone like making $1 billion. And the reason being is I really feel that people not reaching for their potential, I see it as not truly living. It's a settling or a checking out as a norm, and it creating a deep sickness physically, mentally, spiritually, environmentally, etc. So not leaning into the richness of life, that's not tapping into our collective purpose to inspire the world towards peace and harmony. Letting the illusions of fear, not good enough, not ready, they will all hate me, what if I fail, there are no other choices. Navigate our choices again and again, choosing familiarity over fulfillment, and therefore not reaching our potential as change makers. And by change makers, I simply mean people who are involved in making this world a better place to be, even if that is just by the person you are being on a day-to-day, showing up with the kind of character that actually makes people go, I could be kinder, I could be more patient. You know, those kind of things. So those are the 2 things that I would like to transform. And then so there's going to be a feeding off of this. So number 6 says, so then how could I show up in the world through my being to be a part of the change for that situation, challenge, inefficiency, or insanity that I see? So these next questions are going to feed off each other. So if you answered like me, I had 2 things on the previous question, so then I need to answer both of those. So you'll notice I have 1, 2 here, and I'll have 1, 2 here, and I'll have 1, 2 on the next one. So I wrote, I can be real even when it's uncomfortable, honest even when it's hard, speak my truth even when my voice shakes. I could be the first to take off my mask in community. I can strive for authenticity in all that I do and be, and give myself permission to 1, be human. I will make mistakes. And 2, start again when I discover I'm showing up with a mask. And I wrote like an example, take the mask off and be like, hello, let me introduce myself to you again. So I can share both my wins and failures, ups and downs, good hair days and bad hair days. I can be vulnerable in honor of being a stand for truth. So when you write that, you know, if you like me, you can highlight certain things that, you know, truth, being real, taking off the mask, they all are related, right? And then for the second one, answering the second one, I wrote, I can be brave and following my heart and listening to that still small voice. I can make choices even when I'm scared, but know deep down that even if I fail, I'll be okay, likely better than okay. because I will have grown. I can encourage courage through my being, and also study fear and teach solutions for moving through, making peace with, and easing the great stopper. I call fear the great stopper. I can express compassion and empathy to others as they move through their own fears because I get it. And because a softening is needed to create change just as much as a fierceness. Great. So again, I'm like highlighting things. I'm like, okay, brave, courage, standing up to being scared. I'm like noticing patterns. And so then the seventh question says, if I was to narrow that down to one word, what would that word be? And again, you need to answer it for both. So up here, if I narrow this answer down to one word, I narrowed it down to truth. And then the second one, if I narrowed that down to one word, the word is courage. So number 4 and number 7 will hold, question number 4 and question number 7 will hold your core values. And if you look back, number 7, I have truth and courage. And question number 4, I have beauty and excellence. So my core values are beauty, excellence, truth, and courage. And just so you know, you're not going to have more than like 4 or 5 core values. So beauty, excellence, truth, and courage. And then number 1 and 2, this is where you go and ask a trusted person about yourself. This will reflect to you whether or not your behavior, which, it's a great way, someone who knows you well and spends time with you and sees how you're really showing up, that's really going to be able to reflect to your behavior is in alignment with your core values. So I want to close by just sharing my insights, because as you go through this, hopefully, if all goes well, you will also have insight on this as well. So when I was done, I was like, I wrote this. This is literally my journal writing. I said, I can see how when I'm not showing up for these values in my life, I feel off. Right? Something feels off. In other words, I feel incomplete and divided within myself, right? And remember, standards of integrity are what we are a stand for that allows us to feel whole and divided within ourselves, or whole and undivided within ourselves. But when I'm not showing up for my values, I feel the opposite. I feel incomplete and divided. I can also easily reflect on times in my life when I didn't honor those values and I felt upset, or I felt confused, I felt frustrated, I felt not myself. I felt as if sacred boundaries, almost like I couldn't even define it, but I just knew sacred boundaries were crossed. And then looking at my core values, it made so much sense why I come alive in martial arts. Right? Because that embodies my core value of excellence, and improv classes, because that embodies my core value of truth. It's so clear to me why it means so much to me to create space that feels elegant, artistic, natural, and cozy, because to me, that's beautiful. And why I cry when I see art that speaks to the human spirit, and why I feel life itself is the great poet of our universe. This speaks to my core value of beauty. It's obvious why I think courage is one of the most admirable human traits, and why I'm so touched by vulnerability, because it takes courage to be vulnerable. And those who dare to dance with possibility, taking risk without knowing whether or not it's going to work out, that is courage. It's undeniable that my values speak to why it means a great deal to me to curate honest truth, adventurous, unique, courageous, nourishing excellence, and inspiring beauty experiences for others, and why I feel above all else that I am an artist. So hopefully as you go through this, not only will you be able to define your core values, but you'll be able to have some kind of reflection like this as well, which is so powerful. And not only is this just a game changer for your life and your dreams in general, but I can imagine any of you out there who are business owners, this for me has also really helped shape the way that the offerings that I curate. It's helped shape the way that I write my copy for marketing. It's helped connect me more deep with my why, so that when I am putting myself out there, I can stop making it about me and being scared, and put the flashlight out on the world and reconnect with the world that I am shaping through showing up in alignment with my core values. It's a total game changer for your business. So even though when I talk about each of these 4-part frameworks, this is about your life as a whole. You don't have to be a business owner, but since I am a business owner, or any kind of creator, any kind of if you work in any way where you're creating and you're creating something that matters to you, let's put it that way, this work will change that. So this is really a beautiful practice to develop yourself both personally and professionally. I mean, even if you don't have your own business, knowing something like this might really change the direction of your life with regards to the next job that you decide, a career shift. One of my clients is going through that right now. So anyways, thanks for being here. I don't want to go on. As you can tell, I love teaching. I love talking. So I have to like mindfully cut myself off. And just know as you go through this, I really truly mean it. If you ask a question and you request some kind of coaching in our community page, tag me in it and I will respond. I will help you. Even if we have to go back and forth through a few messages, I want it to be in the community though, because any question and processing that you have, this will help our community. Even if it's particular to you, the questions you ask, the questions I ask you back will help people who also might feel stuck. So I really want to keep it in the community. All right, you guys, love you. And until the next class, adios.